Hello, everybody. Welcome to We Are the Machine. This is the podcast that deals with AI as it intersects with music, film, art, and any other kind of culture. We're going to jump right into the news for the week. What if Disney could clone actors with AI? So today's first story is Disney's AI experimentation in live-action filmmaking. Disney has explored using AI and deepfake style tech to replicate Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's likeness by casting his cousin and digitally replacing the face in the live-action remake of Moana. Ultimately, legal complexity and questions about the likeness and ownership led them to scrap the footage. This is per the Wall Street Journal. This story highlights how even entertainment giants are testing AI for cost saving and creative efficiency, but are hitting roadblocks around IP rights, ethical consent, and creative control. Disney is known for fiercely protecting its characters, and internal approvals are now required for any generative AI use. They've even sued Midjourney over alleged characters copying. That was a little bit longer ago. And they're evaluating fan-generated AI content as well, like the AI-powered Darth Vader in Fortnite that became popular. So what does this mean for creatives? AI tools are powerful, but studios are still wrestling with whether to embrace them or put guardrails around them to protect legacy and brand. Let us know what you think. Would you trust AI to recreate your favorite actor? I think this is an opportunity for creators who do like the AI. Smaller companies and creators now have a chance to use AI a bit more intuitively and at a larger scale, because places like Disney are more afraid to jump in because currently the culture is not loving AI in those places for a number of other reasons. So that might be something interesting to take a look at. Our second story of the week: AI best-selling fiction by 2030. Is it real or is it hype? So our next story comes from the UK publishing scene. Philip Stone of Nielsen predicted that by 2030, AI could write a bestseller, even as early as simple joke or coloring books. That sparked a huge backlash from authors like Naomi Alderman and Sarah Hall, who have said AI lacks emotional depth and originality, and argue that models have been trained on their copyrighted works without consent. These authors fear that under current UK laws, AI firms can access creative works unless authors specifically opt out. They're pushing for labeling standards to distinguish human-written from AI-generated fiction, preserving authenticity and transparency. Though AI can produce formulaic genre stories, most writers assert it still can't replicate complex narrative arcs or genuine human voice. So the takeaway here isn't the debate isn't hypothetical anymore. It's about new creative economies, sustaining authenticity and fair rights in a world where algorithms can write books. So I'd love you to join on that debate. Should AI-written books be labeled? I'd love to hear your take. You can leave it in the comments. Personally, I think that that's something important. Transparency is an important concept. However, I believe that the line between who is and isn't using AI, we can even get into Grammarly, kind of using its AI to help edit your stuff. So the line starts to blur and the question really becomes what needs to be tagged. And so I think that's going to be the interesting debate going forward. So leave your comments and thoughts. Our third story: can AI-made films move you emotionally? So at the 2025 Reply AI Film Festival, filmmakers from over 67 countries submitted AI-written, animated, or enhanced short films under the theme Generation of Emotions. Finalists included Marcelo Costa Jr.'s Instinct, blending a prehistoric and modern imagery, and the UK studio Private Island's Meme, Myself, and AI, praised for its visual and emotional resonance. That comes from the Financial Times and Tech Radar. This festival is in its second year and demonstrates how AI isn't censoring creativity, it's elevating it. Jury chair Gabrielle Musino calls AI a catalyst for innovation in film. This is something we've talked about on the podcast. The final winners will be announced in Venice on September 4th, with over 2,500 submissions affirming a global interest in AI augmented storytelling. At least the telling, we don't know yet about the consuming, but the festival signals that there is some creative place for your outlet in AI. This kind of event shows AI is creative collaborator, is a creative collaborator, not a replacement, where emotional storytelling meets an algorithmic artistry. So, which finalists would you watch first? Go check out some of the stuff on their website on Reply AI. Check out who you like. Let us know what you think. Are you one of the listeners that's here because you're trying to figure out how to keep your art relevant in a world of AI? Or are you an AI creator that's interested in everybody's new work and where things are headed? So for our fourth story, an AI company backs artists, not just algorithms. Okay? So Prem Akkaraju, I apologize if I've mispronounced that, is the CEO of Stability AI, who are the makers of Stable Diffusion. They cleaned up the company's finances after legal and leadership turmoil. In a recent Financial Times interview, he stressed that AI should empower artists, not replace them. He sees AI automating mundane tasks in filmmaking like rotoscoping or color correction, leaving artists free to focus on storytelling. And if we remember, rotoscoping was actually a technique that started making people fear for what art is and what animation is once we started using the rotoscoping. So another example of technology that brought fear into the art community. Akkaraju supports a compensation model for training-based image use, similar to Spotify's licensing for music. So Stability AI uses licensed or public domain datasets only, and it's expanding it into film, television, and advertising markets with clients like Mercado Libre and ARM. So having the licensed information in the LLMs is a huge benefit because that kind of removes the complaint of stealing things unauthorized, taking people's ideas. So this way, it's, as they mentioned, a Spotify model. You put your artwork in, you're paid based on its usage or some other model. The artist feels like they've been paid for their stuff, and the model is free to use it in most legal scenarios. So at the end of it, his message basically was that AI in creative work should support equity, transparency, and a respect for IP, which is, I think, what artists want to hear. So remember, this is the CEO of Stability, so he knows how to phrase these things because he's aware of artists' fears that have been showing through. Especially one of the examples is when Apple used the iPad commercial where they crushed all of the instruments and music and art into the iPad. People took that wrong. They took it like having their art stolen from them and jammed into an iPad for anybody to use. So I think that they're, by now, years later, able to frame this stuff a little bit better for the consumer. So our fifth and final story involves Elon Musk. Coding is the new painting. So our final story involves Elon Musk, who recently stated on X that the new advances in AI will actually turn software development into an art form similar to painting. So rather than just a functional job, coding will become about creative expression, vision, and innovation. So that would be a real sea change in how we view programming. So this parallels broader trends. As AI automates routine tasks, humans get to focus more on the innovation, the storytelling, the style, and in creative, coding could become the next frontier of artistic expression. If music, writing, and visual art are being redefined by AI, Musk envisions that developers will be painting with code, blurring tech and art like never before. So we've seen this, they've been calling it vibe coding, lovable.dev, and a few other places where you can just, similarly like ChatGPT, prompt and have full programs created. Of course, they're not perfect right off the bat, but you're able to refine. So that vibe coding is sort of what Elon is referring to, and I believe that that's correct. Again, it's going to open the door to a lot more people, which might lower the cost of entry as far as salary is concerned with some of these more entry-level positions. But that's the trade-off we're seeing. So do you code in any form? Do you do art? Do you vibe code? Do you use AI? Do you hate AI? please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We want to answer your questions, hear about the things you want to hear about, and hear about your position on the topic so that our episodes can focus more clearly on what you're interested in, and how you're dealing as a creator with this new world of AI, technology, and everything else. So I appreciate your time. That was the weekly update here on We Are the Machine, and we will see you next week.